All right, we want to make a function that's also going to check, that's going to be a Boolean function that also checks if we're grounded. So I'm going to go Boolean is grounded. And because we made it of the Boolean type, that means we have to have a return value. And actually what we might want to do, let's actually just contain this all in our function. So Boolean is grounded, and I'm going to just throw a return in here just so that it stops this error here. And we'll do return, we'll start off with our return true, okay? Just to kind of, there we go. So what we want to check is if our character, so let's comment this out. Did we hit the floor? And if we did, let's do an if statement here. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at that physics 2D, right, that we had. And we're just going to check if we are colliding with something. So the way we do this is with a raycast. So raycast is we can send an invisible laser down to an object and check which direction our ray is hitting based on collision. So we have our physics object, and we're going to send a ray down, and we're just going to say, well, the first parameter, and if you highlight over this, it tells you the origin and then the direction in which it's going. So the first thing we're going to do is just we're going to say this object that we have here, we're going to shoot the ray from its current position. So it's always updating whatever the current position is, right? And then how far do we want it to go? So you could make this a public variable and then adjust it on the fly. I'm going to try 0.2f. Let's do 0.2. There you go. Float value. It's a float value. So that's going to be shooting from the center, but we don't know which direction. And what I want to use is I want to use that ground layer. I'm going to use that value. Now, so this doesn't look too confusing. Ground layer.value. Well, what does that mean? Well, we're going to have we made a variable here called ground layer, and it's a layer mask. So we're always going to be looking for any layer mask that has the tag that we have the tag that's attached to it. This will make sense when we jump back in. All right, so we've got our float variable here, this position, and let's go ahead and hit enter, and then we're going to tab this over. Now you might have noticed that I don't have the curly braces on this. And oh, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the second parameter, what direction. So let's kind of go over this again. We have the current position, and then we need to shoot, I was wondering what that error was. Let's do vector2.down. Now, from the current position of our alien character, we're going to shoot at a laser, kind of this ray going down this distance, and what we're going to be checking for is what are we looking to collide with, and it's going to be anything that's tagged with this ground layer, right? This ground layer variable. And if we do hit the floor, we're going to return true. That means we are grounded, right? And so I'm going to copy this as well. And if, let's see, I know I had that somewhere. Let's see, let's get rid of, let's see, where's our jump? So here's our rigid body where we can always click. I'm going to go ahead and type in if is grounded. So we're going to be checking, we're going to be doing, this is almost like a function call to this guy right here. So if it is grounded, we can actually add this force here, okay? So Boolean is grounded, if this is grounded. And then let's go ahead and do an else statement. Else, if it's not, we're going to, you know what, let's go ahead and wrap this if statement. Then we'll kind of get rid of all of these errors. There we go. Else, we're just going to return false. And we're just getting an error there because the else isn't, we haven't added in our return statement. So return false. And actually, I might have an issue with my curly braces. So, oh, there's the issue right there. All right, so let me clean this up so you can see it a little bit better. So if we are touching the ground, right, return true. If we are not touching the ground, what we're going to do is return false, right? And this if statement here is just checking, it's calling this is grounded function, right? And it's actually not calling it because remember, when we do a function call, we have to have the parentheses. So if is grounded, we're going to add this force. Let's test this. So we're going to press play again. So you can see he hits the floor, and it's not working. I think I know why. And that's because I never created a layer mask. So I'm going to add a layer. I'm going to name this ground. So let's do ground. And let's copy this. Let's click on our ground prefab here. Or I'm sorry, let's click on our alien. And we want to access the ground layer here where it says nothing. I'm going to select ground. So let's try that again. Now when I press play, I left click. Still not jumping. So what my issue was, I made a public variable here called ray distance. I went with 0.2f, if you guys remember, and is grounded. So I just threw a public float ray distance here. Remember, the ray, this is how far the ray goes down from the center of our character. And 0.2 is way too small. So I went with 3. And you have to be careful because, see how at 3 he's just checking it there? So I'm going to go with 2.5, and I'll click again. And that seems a little bit better. I can kind of catch it at the bottom, so we can try 2.4, and that seems a little more exact. So it's just checking the distance. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Oops, let's uncheck play. I'll save this and just, actually we didn't even save the level. So let's make a new folder in here called scenes. There we go. Oops, let's correct that. Scenes, there we go. And we'll name this level underscore 01. And I'm just gonna just kind of hard set this to 2.5 for now. Or I think it was 2.5. Let's see. Yeah, I'll try that again. Yeah, 2.5. Okay, so that's the end of this one.